What's going on, YouTube? I am Batman, and what's sad is that we live in a culture of repression where it's considered embarrassing almost to talk about your feelings with other people, you know? And we kind of stigmatize things like therapy, right? Like, oh, that person must be fucked up in the head. You may have heard someone say before as like an insult to someone they're fighting with, you need to get help, which is a biting way of saying, you're crazy, bitch. It's an insult. You know, it means they're less of a person because they need it. It's something husbands and wives say to each other before they divorce, stuff like that. When really, probably every human being needs to see a therapist sooner or later, for the same reason we all need to see a doctor eventually. Our bodies get sick or wounded, and we need help fixing them, and the same is true for our minds. Our minds are actually more complex and vulnerable than our bodies, and they suffer wounds. And a lot of the time we don't acknowledge these wounds in others or worse ourselves, because it's not shit we can see, it's not nearly as tangible. One of the great misconceptions that human beings make generally, I think, is that if the wound is in our mind, it's something we should be able to control, right? Because we are our mind. We can just will it to be fixed. But we know that's not always the case. With things like PTSD, for instance, people come back from war with psychological wounds, and we know they're real, but for whatever reason, we only acknowledge the most extreme wounds. Post-traumatic stress disorder is like, you know, the equivalent of losing a limb or something. But there are other, much smaller psychological wounds that might be the equivalent of like a broken leg or the flu, and we don't take them seriously. And worse, we act like they're these first world problems. People have it worse. This is just some imaginary shit in your head. Just choose not to feel that way. People delegitimize your problems by letting you know that there are people in Somalia being raped and tortured, and you should just be thankful for what you got and stop acting like a little bitch. But saying that you shouldn't be sad because other people have it worse is as insane as saying that you shouldn't be happy because other people have it better. I did get that off the internet. Thought it was pretty clever, right? Doesn't make sense. But as it is, we live in a culture that generally shames anyone trying to heal their psychological damage, and the result is that we're all fucking crazy. You know, if all our psych wounds were physical wounds, you'd walk out on the street and everyone would just be limping around, cut up and bleeding, missing limbs, covered in boils and acne. But our wounds, unfortunately, are on the inside. Now, as a culture, as a species, we're getting better about treating mental health with the same respect we do physical health. The world would be a better place if someday going to a therapist was as normal as getting a physical with a regular doctor. Not that any of us can afford to do either of those things right now, but hopefully that'll change someday too. In the meantime, we have gaming, which I think has enormous benefits to our mental health. Video games are a potent form of relief. They allow us to relax and have fun and escape for a little while, and everyone needs that relief in some form or another. They allow us to feel good for a little while, even when we're hurt, which is important because when you go too long without feeling good, you lose hope. Games let us know that fun still exists, even if there isn't much of it to be had in our current station in life. It's hard working full-time and going to school, and you're already $15,000 in debt, and you know it's only going to get worse. You can only afford to pay off the interest so far. You don't know how you're ever going to get out of your parents' house. You don't look forward to much in your daily life. It's a whole lot of school, work, homework, and work. And in that scenario, you can almost forget that good things, fun things, happy things even exist. You can forget what they actually feel like. And when that happens, you forget what you're fighting for. You lose the fuel that pushes you through the struggle to the better times ahead. Gaming is the thin line. It stands between many of us and total oblivion. And that's why you should always make a little time to kick back and play some games with your friends. And you shouldn't beat up on yourself or think of it as a waste of time, because it's one of the most important things you do every day. So do it and love it and own it. Thanks for watching. This is Batman, signing out.
Victory. Play of the game.